Today's Money Watch, the phrase IRS audit strikes fear and dread in taxpayers. So you need to know how to avoid raising red flags on your tax return. Our financial advisor, Ray Martin, is here with some good advice, as usual. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Maggie.
I was reading that the number of IRS audits is actually statistically way down. Is that true?
Yeah, it's down from 50 years ago, about 5%. Today, you have a 1 in 100 chance, a 1% chance overall. That's what the IRS audits. But if your income is about $200,000 a year, your chances triple. If your income is $1 million a year, your chances are 5 to 6 times higher than the average person being audited. So, nobody likes an audit. You want to avoid it. If there's some things you know that could trigger it, you want to avoid them.
All right, so let's talk about some of those things so that we can know them. A couple of red flags. Number one, you say, is incorrect information. Like what? Well,
this is where you put an incorrect social security number for you and your dependents, or you make a transcription error from the numbers on your W-2 or 1099s, income, tax withholding, dividends, interest. You just fat finger that in the keyboard and make an error. It's really easy to make those errors, but it's really easy to prevent them also.
Exactly.
So this is just called, what do you do to avoid it? Double check your entries on all your W-2s, 1099s when you put them in a tax preparation program or you write them on your return.
Because trust me, if you get audited, it is the nightmare of your life.
You don't want to go through it. It's just nerve-wracking for some people, and yeah, you want to avoid it.
All right, red flag number two is filing late. Does that mean that if you file for an extension, you're more likely to be audited?
Absolutely not. Filing an extension is not going to get you more likely to get audited. But what would get you audited, though, is if you file your return a week or two late, or you don't file, you skip a year altogether because you don't think you should file a tax return.
That makes sense.
You don't want to do that. What do you do instead? File a Form 4868. If you think you're going to be late, file a 4868 before April 15th. It'll give you an automatic 6-month extension to file your tax return, and it's not going to cause you any more chance to be audited. Matter of fact, I encourage people to file an extension if they're going to wait for corrected W-2s or 1099s from financial institutions.
All right. Also, if you pay too little, it might be a red flag. So is there a way that you can work out a payment plan with the IRS?
There is. But let's say, for example, you owe $1,000 and you can't pay it. So you file your tax return, but you can't pay anything. Wrong. Don't do that. What you do to avoid that instead is file your tax return and pay what you can, even if it's only $10, and include with your tax return a Form 9465. This is an installment agreement request, and what you're going to say to the IRS is, hey, I can only pay $10 of that $1,000 I owe. Come back and give me a payment plan. The IRS will come back to you in a couple of months, give you a payment plan over time that hopefully you can afford. If you can't, you can negotiate it with them and extend it out for a while.
So you have to include that form with your tax return.
Got to include a Form 9465. Pay even something, even if it's $10, pay that and include that form with your tax return.
All right, math errors increase your odds of being audited. Are you talking about simple little math errors, or do they have to be egregious?
The tax code and the tax forms are so complicated, but there are some things like this. For example, you claim all your out-of-pocket medical expenses and health insurance premiums as a medical expense deduction, which you can claim those, but only to the extent they exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. You forget to do that 7.5% calculation. How do you avoid all these calculation errors? Use a computerized tax preparation program such as TurboTax or H&R Block's Tax Cut, or use a Tax Pro. Those computerized programs will eliminate that chance of an error for you.
So let's say you do all this, you still get audited. Where do you go from there?
Well, most audits are a correspondence audit. You're going to get a letter in the mail, the majority. So what do? If you agree with the IRS findings, you check I agree, enclose the payment and return on or before the due date. Never wait and be late. If you don't agree, include a substantive response of why you disagree here. Okay, don't just say I don't agree and ship that back. And include the detail and backup with that, or hire a tax pro to represent you, particularly if they're going to call you to a field office. You never want to go to those yourself, I don't think. Hire a tax professional to represent you. They'll come back, get the information. They'll just answer the question, and they'll avoid all the emotional aspect of it with you.
All right, Ray, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And if you want more information about this, just go to MoneyWatch.com.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.